Hello, Recapped Mystery here. Today, I'm going to explain thriller movie called Case Apart. Watch out and take care. The film begins with two modern-looking black males in their fine pants being auctioned off. They are chained by their necks, and the scene appears to be a slave market. Following this, the film returns to the beginning of the story in a flashback. It centers on two estranged half-brothers from the West Indies, Regis and Joel Grosdizer, who live quite different lives. Joel is a monoracial black man who recently served time in prison for stealing an elderly woman's pocketbook. He is currently living with his mother and his 9-year-old daughter. He is unemployed on a regular basis and blames racism for all of his problems, particularly his unemployment. Regis is a mixed-race man. He is married to a white woman and they have a 9-year-old kid. He lives in a prosperous town and is well integrated into upper-class society. Regis is employed at the local town hall as the mayor's assistant. Regis receives a call from his uncle one day, alerting him that his father is dying and that it is the old man's final wish to meet all of his children. Regis, on the other hand, disregards his deadbeat father because he was not around when Regis was a child. He then goes to supper with his family, but his crazy wife threatens to get laid with other guys if he does not pay one last visit to his father. The next day, Regis flies to his hometown, where his father lives. He meets Joel at the airport, who has also come to see their father. The brothers, who have been estranged for almost a decade, put aside their disagreements and share a taxi. They meet up in a cab on their way to their father's house. Regis brags about his great life, but Joel pretends to cover up his failings out of humiliation. When they arrive at their father's house, they are presented to their aunt and many half-sisters. It becomes out that their father traveled the world and had relationships with other women. This helps to explain why Joel and Regis have different skin tones. When he sees his own two sons in front of him, the elderly man's eyes light up. He promises Regis and Joel that they will inherit a great treasure before dying. This intrigues the brothers, who are anxious to learn more about the riches. To their dismay, all they receive as inheritance is a paper proving their ancestors' emancipation. This paper was given to a select slaves by their owners in exchange for some remarkable work or conduct. Regis and Joel's forefathers were apparently awarded freedom long before slavery was legally abolished in the West Indies. They, however, dismiss the inheritance without regard for its symbolic meaning. They then mockingly tear the paper up in front of their late father's sister's disapproving gaze. This enrages the elderly lady, so she resolves to teach the brats a lesson. She casts a voodoo spell on them, transporting them to the 17th century, when slavery is still practiced. When Regis and Joel wake up in the next scene, they are naked save for their designer knickers in an open field. A pair of terrified black folks flee by them as the two ponder what occurred. Just then, two slave hunters approach and kidnap the Grosdizer brothers. They are subsequently brought to a slave market and sold to a landowner named Monsieur Jordan. Jordan assigns Joel to the farms, where he will work under the supervision of Henri, a violent and extremely prejudiced overseer, while Regis is sent to the residence's kitchens. Soon after, the half-brothers learn that they have time-traveled to 1780, when slavery is still legal. The slaves are forced to listen to a priest read from a false Bible about how black people should obey the whites the next day. However, because the Grosdizer brothers are the only ones who can read outside the whites, they refuse to concur with the contents. Regis even surprises the priest by reading a passage from the book to him. Later that day, Joel arrives late to the game and is hit by Henri. Joel, fed up with Henri's torment conduct, flees the farm, but ends up striking his head on a pole and knocks himself out. He gets scourged in front of everyone for his conduct. That night, Regis is summoned to Monsieur Jordan's office, where his talent to read is recognized. Jordan compliments him for being a smart slave and gives him the authority to control the other slaves alongside Henri. Meanwhile, Joel is being treated for his wounds by Rosalie, a female slave. Joel had already developed feelings for her after only 5 minutes of meeting her. He leans in for a kiss at an appropriate time, only to be turned down. Rosalie then admits, much to Joel's dismay, that she is in love with a fellow slave named Isidore. Regis starts his new job the next day, instructing and commanding other slaves to complete their duties. Joel is horrified to see his brother acting like a white person and accuses him of being selfish. Regis, on the other hand, seems unconcerned, remaining faithful to his new masters and reporting his efforts to Monsieur Jordan throughout the day. Everyone in the White household eventually discovers Regis' ability to read and begins teasing him. They also make fun of his ability to play the piano. Regis, to everyone's amazement, plays the piano well. However, this results in him being severely whipped by the Whites. Regis is finally fed up, and the next morning, the two brothers depart the property by surreptitiously hopping in the carriage of a Jewish man named Isaac. When they get at Isaac's house, he approaches them and confesses that he was aware of their presence all along. The brothers implore him for forgiveness, but to their astonishment, Isaac shows them tremendous hospitality and care because Jews face discrimination as well. Monsieur Jordan's thugs soon arrive at Isaac's house, looking for the two brothers. But, before they are apprehended, Regis and Joel bid Isaac farewell and exit through the back door. They make their way to the beach, where they board an abandoned boat and set sail into the sea. They are arrested and imprisoned after colliding with a ship meant to take slaves to auctions. Finally, the Grosdesser brothers find themselves in the same slave market, where they are purchased by Jordan's thugs. Fortunately, on their trip back to the plantation, the brothers are rescued by an African group known as the Maroons. It is revealed here that the tribe's members were all slaves before fleeing their owners. The two are accepted into the tribe and start chanting alongside the tribe chief. Regis, who is married to a white girl, refuses to chant when the Maroons discuss killing the Whites. The tribe is enraged, and they immediately turn on the brothers. Fortunately, Regis and Joel outrun the tribe and find safety. The next day, the two wake up in an unknown location where they see their aunt, who has cast a spell on them. The brothers quickly realize that she was the one who sent them back in time. They beg her to break the curse and say they will go to any length to do it. The old woman initially refuses, but when the brothers persist, she gives them a hint. She informs them that the only way to return to the present is to return to the plantation and reunite with their ancestors, Isidore and Rosalie. She also instructs them to rectify the error without additional explanation. Before leaving, the woman leaves behind her special pipe, instructing the brothers to use it once they have performed their duty successfully. While the two are discussing how to handle the matter, Joel recalls seeing what appeared to be Isidore having oral intercourse with another man. He has also captured a video of the incident on his phone, which he shows Regis. The two brothers are thus convinced that Isidore is gay, and they incorrectly feel that this is the error that they are intended to correct. Joel and Regis return to the plantation in the following scene. They try to bargain with Monsieur Jordan about their sentence, but it doesn't work out. Instead, they are branded with the plantation symbol. They then return to their shelters and begin to plan their next move. Meanwhile, the Whites are celebrating the wedding of Monsieur Jordan's daughter within the mansion. Seeing this as the ideal distraction, the brothers organize their own slave party. They steal a barrel of rum from the distillery in order to intoxicate and rekindle their relationship between Isidore and Rosalie. However, their plot is derailed when Regis observes Joel making out with Rosalie due to his crush on her. Following that, the two brothers improvise and physically assist the couple in having an intercourse while they are sleeping. They are persuaded that their goal is complete once this is completed. The brothers plan to exact revenge on the Whites because they believe they may return home whenever they want. They barricade their way into the mansion, humiliating everyone. Joel kisses Monsieur Jordan's daughter, whilst Regis begins destroying furniture and even slaps a white man. Henri storms into the room, brandishing a revolver and threatening the brothers. Regis and Joel, however, exhibit no apprehension and proceed to utilize the pipe. Unfortunately, nothing happens when they smoke it. It looks that the magical pipe handed by the old lady has been replaced with a regular pipe. As a result of their actions, they are imprisoned and sentenced to death the next day. That night, the brothers become upset and begin to reflect on their life decisions. Regis discusses his failing marriage, while Joel admits to being broke and jobless. After a few hours, while the brothers are still sympathizing with one another, Henri arrives and transports them to the field where they are to be hanged. However, just before the execution, Monsieur Jordan's son, Victor, flees into the forest because he cannot face the sight. Rosalind pursues him and quickly discovers that he has fallen into a nearby river. The entire family panics and rushes to the scene. Isidore, on the other hand, takes advantage of the clamor and saves the brothers, knocking out Henri in the process. He then instructs them to flee for their lives, which they do. As the brothers run, they come see Victor being washed away by the current. The two leap into the perilous river without hesitation, but, much to Regis' amazement, Joel is unable to swim. This complicates his work even more, but he manages to save both his brother and Victor. Monsieur Jordan, grateful to the brothers for saving his son's life, releases them. The half-brothers are likewise presented with the identical emancipation paperwork that their late father issued them with. Instead of accepting the freedom and the award, they ask Monsieur Jordan to release Isidore and Rosalie and hand over the paperwork. The Monsieur finds the request unusual, yet he agrees to it. The brothers have thus freed Isidore and Rosalie, but they still don't know where to find the magical pipe that will allow them to return to contemporary times. As the days pass, they gradually come to understand that they may never return to their time. Isidore and Rosalind say their goodbyes to the brothers and depart the plantation with the paperwork one day. As the two stand there watching them leave, Henri approaches them and orders them to return to work. He then pulls out his pipe and begins smoking. When he tries to humiliate the brothers by blowing smoke in their faces, they vanish, much to Henri's surprise. This implies that Henri was the one who took the pipe. The brothers return to the present in the following scene, when they notice their aunt standing alongside them. Regis and Joel are relieved when they see her clutching the actual document. Several months have passed. Joel finds a regular job on a construction site, where he still complains about his low pay and claims it is because he is black. Meanwhile, Regis resumes his duties in the town hall. Regis, no longer the person he once was, chooses to confront the mayor before storming off. The scene shifts to Regis and his wife, as well as Joel and his mother, discussing in Regis' living room. The two agree that their experience drew them closer together as a family. However, an altercation between their respective daughters results in the ripping of the emancipation paperwork. The film concludes with Regis and Joel panickingly running towards their girls. Please subscribe to assist the channel, turn on notification and leave a like. Thank you for taking the time to watch. See you again soon.